Alexa, play Erskine Veterans Radio, and it will just play it. We're just about to activate an improved version of the Google Home smart speaker also. So with that, you can say to Google, talk to Erskine Veterans Radio, and it will do that.
Q Talks with Jools London. Our access to audio programmes are sponsored by the National Lottery Community Fund and the Scottish Government. To find out more about how to access our services, visit qandreview.com. Welcome to this edition of Q Talks from the Q and Review Print Speaking to the Blind virtual studio. Hopefully you've not just been listening to our chats, but also our daily news podcasts over at qandreview.com/free podcasts being recorded from their homes by our amazing team of 15 home readers. Today we talk to Gordon Stevenson from Erskine Radio. Welcome, Gordon.
Good morning. Welcome, Jools. Thank you for having me along.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So tell me a little bit about the Erskine charity.
Certainly, yes. So the Erskine charity has been caring for veterans since 1916. Some people may not be aware of this, but the NHS didn't exist until after World War II. And I think that's something that we, and particularly my generation, take for granted. But we forget that those early veterans returning from the First World War and during the Second were coming back from those battles and having to somehow fund their own care, which was beyond the reach of many veterans. And so from 1916 onwards, Erskine was there in Scotland to try and care for the growing numbers of veterans returning from the battlefield with horrific injuries. Initially, I believe the lion's share of those injuries were amputees. And so Erskine was at the forefront with some local Glasgow surgeons to try and make prosthetic limbs for those amputees and give them a better quality of life. So since 1916, we've cared for over 100,000 veterans. Our mission is in Scotland is that we want to see a Scotland where all veterans and their families are valued and respected, and where a high quality of care and support is available to them to maximise their quality and potential of life. So that's sort of where we are, and every year we support over 1,000 veterans and their families based across 4 different homes in Scotland. We have 2 in Bishopton, 1 in Glasgow and one in Edinburgh. Over and above that, we offer additional services such as veterans cottages, assisted living, an activity centre. It's kind of a day centre where veterans from all forces can come along and they can engage in new skills such as crafts, painting, sports, etc. And we've just launched the opening of 24 transitional supported accommodation houses, again for veterans that are maybe in a transitional period in their life and looking to get back into employment. We'll offer them that support. So, you know, over the beyond the century, the services that Erskine offers have moved with the times, and I think we'll continue to do that and adapt to the needs of the veterans as they come along.
Great. So you mentioned the prosthetic limbs being a big part of what the kind of services that Erskine was working with, along with medical professionals after the Second World War. What do you find are the kind of things that veterans are presenting themselves with today?
That's a good question, Jools. So today, obviously, we have an NHS, so Erskine no longer performs prosthetic limb operations or provides them. What our mainstay is long-term palliative care, with a heavy focus on those with dementia. Dementia, as we know, affects a growing number of our population. So the mainstay of our service support is those that are elderly and have dementia. So each of our homes performs a slightly different function. But beyond that, you know, we are seeing, as I said earlier, an increasing need for transitional support beyond long-term care, and that's something that we're slowly starting to introduce. And we also are aware that the need for a pan-Scottish organisation. So we have those number of homes in the west of Scotland and one in the east. So we're now also looking at offering support services in the north of Scotland that research is ongoing at the moment, but may take another couple of years to come to fruition.
So when you talk about transitional care, it's that obviously that wouldn't be for any veterans suffering from dementia or needing palliative care. Would that be with younger veterans? What sort of ages are you finding? Is there perhaps veterans in their 20s that are coming out of the services and needing transitions?
Yes, absolutely, Jools. Yeah, the age group now has really varied, and I think that there are a number of misconceptions about Erskine. I only joined in September 2020, so I was one of those many that had misconceptions about Erskine. So yes, it's varied age groups. From 26 up until our oldest veteran sadly just passed away last year, Hassie. He was 105, so it's a very wide group.
Right. Okay.
Hassie was actually in the RAF, and his father before him was in the RAF when it was created.
My goodness.
Which is an amazing story, and also we also care for men and women. We have cottages where whole families live. I believe we have a 14-year-old that lives in one of those families. We, as I say, we have the day centre, so people can come along there just for the day if they want. We also cater for all three forces, so the Royal Navy, the British Army, Navy, and the Royal Air Force, obviously. Again, there was a misconception that we were just for the Army and just for officers. I don't know how that came about. I think it's because there are a larger portion of veterans from the Army. Roughly 57% of our residents have served in the Army, 17% in the Navy, and roughly 26% in the RAF. This is quite varied, and approximately 50% of our residents in care are in specialist dementia settings.
Right. So you mentioned families there. Do you offer any respite for family members that provide care for veterans?
That we do not at the moment, no, but we're always, we pride ourselves on being a learning organisation, Jools. So I don't claim to be the medical expert at Erskine. I'm more marketing communications, but as part of that, we do receive quite a lot of feedback, particularly on social media, which we're trying to grow and expand because it's a fantastic tool. So we're learning all the time and taking in from the families that we are in communication with those requests. We're always looking at things like that, Jools, to expand our range of services to give the very best care for the veterans and their families. We actually operate a system called Workplace, which is powered by Facebook, which is closed, which allows us to communicate with families in a safe environment. We also have something called the Erskine Weekly News, which provides a weekly update on everything that's happening about Erskine and its range of services and fundraising events and all the positive things that are going on across all four homes.
Great. So you are linked to Erskine Radio as a presenter, is that right?
No, actually, no. Myself and the marketing and communications team came up with the concept of creating a radio station now.
Okay.
You'll be aware, Jools, that anyone can really now, with the power of the internet, create an audio-only station with speech. But we wanted to introduce music into those shows because we know from research from groups such as Age Scotland and Age UK that dementia is a very powerful tool in terms of the well-being of residents. The power of music has ability to take them back to a previous time. And so I was really keen to introduce music into the shows.
Right.
And so we went to a commercial partner to make that happen so that we could have daily shows with talk, but also with that music, so that we could give a proper service for the veterans. So I'm not a presenter as such. Our presenter is Ian Brannan, who is well established in the industry across some national UK stations.
Great. So obviously there the Erskine is responding to needs as they evolve and change over time and looking to adapt. And obviously during lockdown, the access isn't there for perhaps people to come in to the homes to provide music, but through Erskine Radio that's more readily available, and perhaps providing facility there that wouldn't have been there had it not been for lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. You've hit the nail right in the head there, Jools. One of the reasons we came across this idea was that we were well aware a year ago about, the restrictions placed on family visiting, etc., was detrimental to the well-being of our veterans, and we were thinking, having a newsletter is great and the workplace system, but what else can we do to connect families to their loved veterans? And so we thought, well, if we can create our own radio station where the families and veterans can make requests for each other, that that could really make someone's day. So the core mission of the radio station is that veterans in their homes can listen to their favourite music, as well as messages from loved ones to make them feel connected with the outside world. And not only that, it gives the people who support us across the UK and beyond a chance to tune in and stay up to date with our news.
So a great way to connect between veterans, supporters, likes of yourself who are involved in running Erskine, and create a sense of community, a supportive community there then.
Yeah.
So how can a listener get access to Erskine Radio?
Okay, so that we tried to make it as accessible as possible. What we did was we put ourselves into the position of a veteran in the care environment, and thought, right, what is the easiest way? Because I'm 51 this year, Jools, and 52 actually in September, and even I struggle to keep up to date with technology. I think people my age probably receive regular phone calls from their parents asking how to log into things, and it's not easy. I struggle with some certain technology things that come out. So the easiest way is to speak to an Alexa device. So the veteran or the staff nurse can say, Alexa, play Erskine Veterans Radio, and it will just play it. We're just about to activate an improved version of the Google Home smart speaker also. So with that, you can say to Google, talk to Erskine Veterans Radio, and it will do that. If you don't have a smart speaker, that's fine. The person can simply visit our website on a smartphone or a tablet or a computer, and that website address would be erskine.org.uk/radio. So it's just our standard website address /radio. Failing that, if they have a smartphone again or tablet, they can visit the Apple Store or the Google Play Store and simply search for the Erskine Veterans Radio app, which you'll just install it on that smartphone. In terms of communicating requests to our presenter, Ian Brannan, veterans and families and nurses and supporters, in fact, anyone who has a love for Erskine and our veterans can again just simply go to erskine.org.uk/radio, and on that same page where the player resides, there's also a very simple form. You can just fill out your name, the name of the veteran you may have a request for, a song, and which message you would like read out. It could be a birthday, it could just be we're thinking of your message, or you can also email radio@erskine.org.uk, and that email again goes straight to our presenter Ian Brannan. So, Jools, we've tried to cover every single communication way there is and every single way of listening to the great shows.
Right. So what can a listener expect when they tune into Erskine Radio? You mentioned before a combination of chat and music. Is there a schedule if a particular listener wants to, let's say, listen to music at one point? Can they guarantee music? Or if they want to be listening to chat, can they guarantee chat? Where can that information come from, and what can the listener expect when they tune into Erskine Radio?
Sure. So the station is 24/7. And by that, I mean, out with our scheduled shows, they will just be back-to-back music with no ads, because we are not a commercial operation. the show is not a fundraising venture. It's purely for veterans and families. So at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday is the live show, if you like, with Ian Brannan. So that will be a mixture of chat, requests, on this day in history, current affairs. It will include an interview every single week from an Erskine supporter, staff member, veteran, family member, and also radio song requests, specific songs requested by family members for their loved ones or vice versa. That show 3 times a week is also repeated at 7 p.m. In case you missed the first one. And out with those 1 hour shows, as I say, it's just repeated music from the 50s, 60s and 70s. We were keen to play music that we thought would resonate with the mainstay of our residents. And I was keen to kind of avoid playing rap music and DJ Stormzy and heavy metal and things that may not necessarily have been the songs that they remember, right, from earlier years. And actually, the music, some of the response to those genres has been very positive, even from our younger listeners, because a lot of that music has now been repurposed in modern day cult films, for instance. So, reading some of the requests that come through, it's been very well received so far.
Brilliant. So those kind of music will trigger the memories for dementia sufferers, for example, and it sounds as though a younger generation it appeals to as well.
Yeah, I think for many people, Jools, listening to the radio is a part of their everyday routine anyway. It can offer companionship and a way to feel connected. And as we know, music has been proven to have a transformational effect on people living with dementia. So, its primary goal is to bring benefits to our veterans. Everything else is secondary. So if each day, if only a dozen or so veterans feel that their day's been improved by listening to that show, then it's job done as far as we're concerned. The show has so many different things, so many different purposes, but its core one is to bring those benefits to the veterans. And we've been very lucky to be supported by organisations such as Human Review in that regard.
Brilliant. So you're involved in overseeing the radio station, I understand, and the marketing. What do you find most fulfilling about your involvement in Erskine?
For me, Jools, it has been seeing those requests come through and connecting people, particularly those that are geographically distanced. So in the first few days of the broadcasts, I saw 2 requests come in. One was from a lady whose father was in a Bishopton home, and she was from England, and another was from Inverness. So obviously that's quite far away from where we're located, and that must be frustrating, to have that distance. And so the radio show immediately was a way to connect those people together in an emotional way, beyond an email. And I thought, unfortunately, I couldn't be in the home to witness it, but I in my mind, I mean, imagine the veteran is sitting there in the home, it's 3 o'clock, and they're hearing maybe their daughter or son read out that request for them, and that is such a powerful thing. So for me, that's the most important thing and the largest benefit that it brings. We've been lucky so far to be donated a large volume of Alexa devices. So the stage 1 deployment has been to put those devices in every communal area across our 4 homes. So those will be kind of typically an open space where our veterans are socially distanced, obviously with COVID restrictions ongoing. Usually those spaces have a TV there that's brightly lit, and they're usually places of activity and positivity. And so those speakers have been strategically placed so that those groups of veterans can listen to the songs and the shows every week. Our head of IT, Bill McDowell, who himself is a Falklands veteran, was extremely helpful in connecting them to our Amazon account and activating the speakers. Phase 2, with the addition of more speakers, will be to actually place them into veterans' private rooms as well, so they can have that direct connection and activate the shows at any time they wish.
Fantastic. So do you have any involvement in the military prior to coming to Erskine?
I do not, unfortunately, know, Jools. I did harbour ambitions to join, but unfortunately, I followed a different path. A number of my friends went off to join the Royal Navy and seen the world, etc. But no, unfortunately, I have no direct military connection. Although my great uncle Neil was himself a veteran of World War II and served many happy years as a resident when Erskine was based in Mar Hall, which is now a private hotel. So I do have that connection. And in fact, he appeared on the Christmas card. I think it was 1984. So that was my first awareness of Erskine. And when the opportunity came to work there, it was a no-brainer for me. Both my grandfather and great-grandfather served in the British Army, and one in particular at Tobruk against the Nazis, and in Libya, and after that against Franco in Spain. So I do have a military connection, but not directly, unfortunately.
Well, that's amazing, because that's kind of hereditary.
Yes.
Hereditary.
Yes.
I didn't get that word out right, did I? So influenced by your family and the history there that goes along with that. And then yes. I suppose you feel part of that history now with supporting veterans as well.
Yeah, I do, Jools. I spent 30 years in the media, particularly in news publishing.
Okay.
And as rewarding as that was, and storytelling is an amazing industry to be part of. When the opportunity came at Erskine, to tell Erskine's story was a challenge I just couldn't pass up. As I drove into Erskine last summer for the interview, it was a beautiful sunny day, and Erskine is set upon acres of lovely lush green fields surrounded by trees, and that was in stark contrast to Glasgow city centre, which used to be a daily tour commute battle through the traffic, etc. Right. And immediately upon arriving the grounds, I knew it was a place for me, and I was extremely fortunate that they offered me the position, which I grasped.
Fantastic. So there may be somebody watching who's interested in volunteering to support either Erskine or Erskine Radio. Are there any opportunities for that?
Yes, there are. Yes, the way that our shows are constructed, the presentations are recorded by our commercial partner, and as I said earlier, presented by Ian Brannan. But we do have weekly guests. So anybody who would like to be a part of the show, if they email radio@erskine.org.uk, or email myself, Gordon.Stevenson@erskine.org.uk, and we can certainly discuss how you can be a part of the show. I believe that all veterans have a fantastic story to tell, and the Erskine family goes beyond those who were directly in the military. Erskine also cares for those who may not have directly served, but who have been in the reservists, which is something else I didn't realise. So we have a very wide range of supporters and veterans and associated services that we cater for. So yeah, everybody who wants to be involved, we'd love to hear from you. Any kind of partnerships and anything you'd like to offer, please email us or get in touch through the website or the form on the radio page.
Fantastic. So do you or do any of the veterans make use of any other listening services?
Well, yes. So with the very kind donation from Q and Review of the Alexa devices, we hope that our veterans throughout our 4 homes and beyond will start to listen to this talking newspaper service. Obviously, being in a home can sometimes make veterans feel that they're slightly disconnected from the outside world, although we do provide them with all of the connections that you would require. I believe we've just actually rolled out a number of iPads to veterans, but I believe the talking newspaper service is something that will bring even more value to the audio speaker implementation. So yes, that's the sort of thing that we want to do much more of, Jools.
Fantastic. So the details of the Alexa application and the talking newspaper application are at www.qandreview.com/VIP audio and /promotion. So how do you see things moving forward for Erskine and Erskine Radio coming out of the pandemic? What opportunities are there? Is there anything particularly that you're excited about?
Yes, well, we have a lot of things going on at Erskine that I said earlier, would change perception of what Erskine is. So as the COVID pandemic recedes and the accessibility comes back, we'll have a lot of events planned for later in the year, around about Q4, as business slowly goes back to normal. We have regular garden parties, events outside. There's always something going on across our 4 homes. The Erskine Weekly News is actually the best way to keep up to date, and the Erskine website. We've recently just launched a new shop for an updated range of merchandise, so people can support us that way. But to find out what's going on, we'll have a new website launched in June, July, to replace our existing one, where there'll be far more emphasis on what's going on at Erskine and daily news bulletins and updates. So watch this space in the next few weeks when that new site launches.
That's great. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today. That's been wonderful to hear about your own story and Erskine as well. And I hope you enjoy what you've been looking forward to there, as you've described.
It's an absolute pleasure, Jools, and thank you again for asking me along today.
Q Talks with Jools London. Our access to audio programmes are sponsored by the National Lottery Community Fund and the Scottish Government. To find out more about how to access our services, visit qandreview.com.